And in 5. Ooh. 4. Ooh. 3. Are you in? You want me to scoot over? No, scoot over a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, and
5, 4. Hey, welcome to the platform. I am Conrad, and this is Tom, and we're coming back after a nice little vacation hiatus. Yes,
yeah.
this is our second recording, or we had some things, but we're trying to be more consistent now. But
Yes.
a lot's happened since then, and a lot's going to happen since now.
I love it. Okay, so this recording is going to be about the human body. So here, I didn't give Conrad a ton of information about the topic before we recorded because I wanted to ask you some questions. But here's the thing. Here's where my head's at. Now, we all know that we do things that we shouldn't do that we know are bad for us, and we don't do things that we should do that we know are good for us. And we do those things consciously and willingly. And so I'm paralyzed recently, so I'm like relearning my body, okay? Yeah. And the other day, I was sitting and putting my shoes on and socks and all that and getting dressed, and I have to like pick my legs up and move them where they need to go. And I'm sitting there with my leg in my hand, and I'm thinking like, man, I was just thinking to myself like, here's this body, okay, this human vessel, this thing that my spirit and my essence dwells in, and it's physical, and it's responsible for carrying us through this life, right? Like it is the vehicle that is going to get us through this life, and we know that, and it's the only one we get for this life. So, how do you think we should value and view our own bodies? Do you think we should be more conscious of them and treat them better in every way? Or do you look at them as kind of like disposable? And like, how do you process the care and the awareness and treatment you put on your body?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're talking about something that inevitably is going to fail and wither away and be over with. So, knowing that is kind of like, okay, well, I gotta appreciate it when it's at least in its most able time frame, right? Warren Buffett said a good thing. He said, look, I got a little question for you. Imagine if you can have any car you wanted, any car at all, okay? Doesn't matter the cost. And so you're sitting there thinking, then he says, okay, well, now the catch is it could only be the car. It could be the only car you'll ever have ever. So it's like, okay, well, now you know that whatever you're going to get, you're going to take really good care of. So, I kind of look at it the same way. Like recently I just started playing soccer because I needed to run more because I noticed I'm getting a little chubby. And it's like, look, man, take care of these things, So, I mean, I look at it two ways. One is something you take care of so you can make it last as long as possible. But at the second time, it's like, it's inevitably going to be thrown out. So,
well, how's that different from your mind?
Well, the mind withers over time too.
Yeah, and you don't stop, or that doesn't like necessarily stop you from filling it up or stimulating it. Or,
Some people, it's interesting. I'm listening to a.
well, not the mindset of, okay, this is just going to wither away. I mean, first of all, is that how you consciously view your body? Is it like when you think about when the moment comes where you either have to make a choice to do something that's healthy and you fail to do it, or you have to not do something that's not healthy and you fail to do it. How do you process those moments? I mean, you probably don't even think about it, right? Like when you neglect your body in some way.
Yeah. Could you think like, hey, is what I'm doing still gonna make my body capable of doing what I'm already doing?
Yeah.
So if you're a glutton who sits and watches TV, you're probably like, yeah, sure, I'll have 3 slices of pizza at midnight because it won't stop me from watching TV, at night. So it's like, but if you're an athlete and you're sitting there thinking, man, I should have a couple slices of pizza, and you go, well, no, because that's gonna mess me up from doing what I typically do with my body. So, there's that. I think so subconsciously you have it in you where it's like you do things that will enable you to continue to do what you're pretty much used to already doing.
That's interesting. That's a really cool.
Same with the mind. It's like,
Yeah.
why should I read a book when tomorrow I'm just going to do this and this and this, which requires not for me not to have any additional knowledge or to be like
to remain the same.
right. So it's like. But I heard that the average CEO reads 60 books a year. And it's like, well, look at a CEO's job. They're constantly having to think and come up with ideas and problem solve, and they have to manage. So their mind has to be very active. So again, it's just one of those things where you repeatedly do the things to sustain what you've already done. Real quick, though, I thought it was really funny. I was listening to a Lex Fridman and Sam Harris podcast. And I like Sam Harris. He's an atheist, which I don't agree with, but he's funny. I think he has a really practical way of looking at things. But he said, man, he's like, because they're talking about evolution and apes and all that stuff. He's like, imagine if, he's like, there's only a few really smart people on this planet. He's like, a lot of people are really stupid. He's like, imagine if like the really smart people died tomorrow. It's like, how long do you think it would take before we reinvented the internet? He's like, 1,000 years? He's like, if at all. So, it's like, again, just to wrap up my point, it's like you keep doing the same things that you're pretty much have been already doing, especially when you get older.
Well,
what's your take on that?
I mean, I don't think I put enough attention, care, awareness, thought, mindfulness into my physical body as I should. And the crazy thing is about it is that you and I, we will never know, and listeners too, you will never know how you would operate in perfect conditions otherwise, unless you try them. It's like, what would my energy, my mind, my thought process, all that be like if, let's just say, there was a textbook, prescription on how to eat and exercise and whatever, and you did it to the T.
Yeah.
Like, what would that change in me? But here, like, I know we're wrapping up, but the big thing that I was thinking about is that I broke my body, right? Like, I broke it. Like, I literally broke my back, and now my whole body's suffering. Like, it's just screwed up. And it's not to say that my bladder and my kidneys and my liver and my organs and intestines and all of that, muscles and communication, I'm not saying that they have their own thought process, and that they're like, oh man, Tom, you really screwed us. But as a unit, as one solid, unit of cohesive unity, I broke it. And it's like, man, now I'm going to suffer the consequences of that, or whatever, reap what I sowed. And it makes you look at the value of the body, and you don't realize how valuable it is until it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
Jack Dorsey, he's the CEO of Twitter. He was on something or other, and he apparently he only eats like one meal a day, and it's like, oh man, CEO wealthy must be into something like revolutionary here. But it's like, I notice this happens a lot with people who especially get to like prominent status, multi-billionaire CEO, of course, like they're going to start to look at things differently. But here's another thing too. There was a situation where like a group of people got trapped in a cave somewhere, and of course the person who got the sickest, and I think they didn't even survive, was the healthiest person, the person who had the best physique. They ate very like boom 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 boom, and it's like it kind of goes along with that thing, the theory that if all human beings disappeared, like which dog would survive, which dog would have the best chance of surviving. And it's like, well, your average everyday mutt, because you're not too extreme. So there's also that way to look at it too, because I think you might be able to get hyper healthy, where it's like you're like a Ferrari. It's like, you can deliver, but you can't drive a Ferrari every day. I mean, it's certainly not the
not in construction zones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's like it just depends on how you look at it. So they have these things where it's like optimal performance, like people who are, what do they call them? I forget. Just like your achievers, your people who are just constantly going at it. It's like they're on a super regimented diet, strict diet, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but what about burnout? What about burning out? That happens. Like that's a real thing. People get burnt out, and so maybe there's a good balance.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a healthy balance. My final thoughts, at least for now, are that I need to look into what it's going to take for me to get closer to the healthier balance.
Yeah.
And also, it's helping me to look into my life and to challenge my areas of my life that need challenge. It's like, dude, if I am not, let's just say I'm drinking soda and it's giving me a UTI. Like, that's not the case, but let's just say it is. If I don't stop drinking soda, it's like I'm gonna keep getting UTIs, and that's got to change.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I know that I'm not eating healthy, but I'm not necessarily not seeing the results of it because I don't know what healthy would feel like, then I need to make a change towards that.
Right.
And so hopefully that's what this this recording does, and us meeting on a weekly basis, because it's like getting more disciplined. And if we fall off the rocker, even if it is for 6 months, to get back on it. All right.
Good stuff. All right, man. Well, we're keeping these platforms short, and maybe it'll work. So we'll continue on and see you next time. Adios.
Peace.
Does it work? I think it has to have the electric
Son of a
static.
gun.
The electro